What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to assemble and disassemble your RPG-AR15. So the first thing we can think about when assembling our system is whether we want to attach the included wheels to the subwoofer or not. This is completely optional, but it makes transporting your subwoofer around from gig to gig a lot easier. So if you do want to attach the wheels, all you're going to need is a Phillips head screwdriver or a drill. If you look at the back of the subwoofer, you'll see these 4 screws here for each corner, and this is where the wheels are going to go. So firstly, we're going to take out these screws with a drill, or you could also use a Phillips head screwdriver. So I can start with one corner at a time, take my drill and line it up to each screw, and take them out one by one. Once you've done this with one corner of your sub, you can repeat this process for the rest of the corners. So once you've taken out all of the screws, you can then take one of your wheels here and line it up to one of the corners on the back of your sub. Also make sure that this panel here is vertical so that it lines up perfectly with the holes here on the corners of the sub. Once you have the wheel lined up, you can take 4 of your screws and just push them into the screw holes to start so that it keeps the wheel in place. You can then take your drill or Phillips head screwdriver and screw these in to secure the top of the wheel. So now that we've got the first couple of screws secured to the wheel, we can then gain access to the remaining screw holes by moving the wheel over just like this. And then we're just gonna take 2 more screws and line them up to these screw holes and secure them with our screwdriver or drill. So now to attach the rest of the wheels to the sub, you're gonna follow the same exact steps that we used to attach our first wheel. One thing to keep in mind though is that you actually have 2 sets of wheels. So you have regular wheels like this, and then you have 2 wheels that have this locking mechanism here. So we recommend you actually take the wheels with the locking mechanism and set them up diagonal to each other. So if you have the first locking wheel on the top right corner, you're gonna wanna set up the second locking wheel to the bottom left corner. And remember that attaching these wheels is completely optional, so you don't have to follow these steps, but we do recommend that you do so you have an easier time transporting your sub. The next thing we can do is attach the speaker stand for the system onto our sub. So to do that, we're gonna look at the bottom of the stand to see this threading here. We're just gonna line this up to the pole mount on top of the sub, and then we're just gonna screw it in to secure the stand onto the sub. So now that we've got the stand attached to the sub, the next thing we're gonna do is line up the array speaker to the stand. But first, we're gonna loosen this knob here on the stand so we can pull the top part of the stand up so we have an easier time attaching the array onto the stand. And then after that, we're just gonna tighten the knob back up again to lock it in place for now. So now we have plenty of room to attach the array speaker onto the stand. So to do that, we're just gonna look at the bottom of the array where we're gonna see the threading here. Then we're just gonna line this up to the top of the pole, and then we're just gonna screw the array onto the stand to secure it. If you ever need to, you can actually rotate the top pole here, and you can also rotate the knob on the bottom so that it's perfectly aligned to the rest of your stand. So now that we've got the array attached to the stand, we can now go ahead and set the height. We actually have a couple of different ways we can set the height. The first way we're gonna show you how is by using the top pole here. So if we loosen this top knob here and then raise on the top pole, you're then gonna see these holes along the top pole. We can use these to measure how high our speaker is going. So we have the first hole here, and if we pull up a little more, we have a second hole here, which will allow the speaker to go higher. Once we found a height we like, we can take the top safety pin here and run that through the hole. And once we let go, you'll notice that the pin here is stopping the pole from collapsing. And then for full security, we can tighten this knob back up. Now the second option that we have to set the height of the stand is by using the bottom tier of our stand. But one thing to keep in mind is that in order to use the bottom tier, you're actually going to want to fully extend the top tier of the stand here. So if you do want to use the second tier, be sure to raise the top pole up all the way and use the second hole to secure the top of the stand. And then from there, we can adjust the second tier. So I went ahead and did that, so I have the top pole fully extended, got my safety pin all set up, and now to access the second tier, I'm gonna loosen this knob here on the back of the stand. And then I can pull up on the stand, and then you're gonna see again that we have these holes here that will signify how high the second tier is going. So once I found a height I wanna use, I can then take the safety pin and run it through the hole of the stand. And then you're gonna tighten this knob back up to fully secure the second tier. So between these two tiers, we have plenty of options to set the height of the speaker system. I'm actually gonna lower it a little bit so that the array is at head level. So after we've set the height for our system, the next thing we're gonna wanna do is connect the array to the sub. So to do that, we're gonna take this connector here. We're gonna connect one end into the port here on the back of the array by lining up the groove here of the connector to the groove of the port. Then we're just gonna twist the connector to the right like this. And then you should hear that little click letting you know that it's connected to the array. So then you're gonna take the other end and plug it into the port on the back of the sub where it says array out. Line up the grooves of the connector to the grooves of the port, twist it to the right, then you'll hear that click letting you know that the array is connected to the sub. After that, we can plug our power cable into the sub and power up our whole system. So once you're all done using the system and you're ready to break down, the first thing you can do is power off the system and take out the power cable. Next, you can disconnect the array from the sub by unplugging this connector here. And to do that, you're just gonna pull on the silver piece on top of one end of your connector. You're then just gonna twist that end to the left, and then from here, you're able to pull it out. So we just did that for the array, and to do that for your sub, you're just gonna do the same exact thing. Now we can break down the array by taking the array head here and just unscrewing it from the top pole, just like this. Once you've loosened it all the way, you just want to keep one hand on it so that it doesn't fall off of the stand here. Then you can just carefully lift up the array head to remove it from the stand. From here, we can collapse the height of the stand by loosening the knobs. Since we only use the top tier here, we can just lift up on the top tier, take out the safety pin, and then push the top of the stand all the way down and tighten the knob back up to lock it in place. If you had the height set on the second tier, you're just gonna do the exact same thing. Loosen the knob, take out the pin, slide it all the way down, and lock it up with the knob. So after that, we can take the stand off of the sub by taking the base of the stand here and unscrewing it from the sub just like this. Once it's loosened all the way, we should be able to lift up on the stand and take it off of the sub. And now we've got all of the pieces disconnected to pack up or store away. From here, we can transport the sub using the handles on each side. And if you have the wheels attached to the sub, you can use the handles to place the sub on its back. And from there, use the wheels to transport your sub. Remember, you got the locking mechanism on 2 of the wheels if you ever need the sub to stay in place. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to assemble and disassemble your RPG-AR15. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.